And now, as I continue wandering through this unusually long river of thoughts, I realize something profound. Learning a language is not just an academic task, it is an emotional, psychological, and almost spiritual transformation. It touches every part of who you are. When you learn a new language, you are not simply memorizing vocabulary, you are reshaping the architecture of your mind. Neuroscientists would call this structural cognitive reorganization, but I like to call it your brain politely reinventing itself. Sometimes, when I think about English learners around the world, I imagine millions of tiny sparks lighting up in millions of minds. Each spark is a moment of understanding. One student realizes the difference between since and for, another finally masters the past perfect, another suddenly understands why we don't say in Monday. Each spark is small, but together, they form a glowing constellation of progress across the planet. But let's be honest, the journey isn't always peaceful or mystical. Sometimes, language learning feels like you're wrestling a dragon made of grammar rules. One minute you feel confident, yes, I understand everything. And the next minute English throws a completely irregular verb at your face like a magical fireball from nowhere. You think you're prepared, and suddenly the language whispers. Surprise! The past tense of this word is absolutely nothing like what you expected. Yet strangely, those moments are golden. Those are the moments your brain wakes up. Those are the moments you grow. Mistakes, confusion, frustration, these are not signs that you're failing. These are signs that you're learning. In fact, in educational psychology, there's a concept called desirable difficulty, which means the best learning happens when something feels just a little bit challenging. Not too easy, not too hard, just enough to make your brain sweat in a healthy way. Speaking of sweating, there is a humorous reality that every learner encounters, the English small talk labyrinth. Native speakers will ask you, "How's it going?" when they don't actually want your life story. They will say, "We should hang out sometime," even if sometime actually means never. They will use phrases like kind of, sort of, maybe, and probably so often that you begin to suspect English is secretly terrified of speaking clearly. But even this confusion has its charm. You begin to understand not just the language, but the culture, the rhythm, the humor, the subtle energy beneath everyday speech. You learn that English isn't just about words, it's about tone, intention, expression, timing. And if we follow the mystical path again, language begins to look like an aura around each person. Some people speak with bright, energetic colors, fast, joyful, enthusiastic. Others speak with calm, soft tones, slow, gentle, soothing. Every language carries its own frequency, its own vibration. When you learn English, you are tuning yourself into a new frequency of communication. You are learning to radiate ideas in a new form. The ancient philosophers often said that every word carries a piece of the speaker's soul. And in a strange way, that's true. When you speak English, you reveal a new version of yourself, not replacing your original identity, but expanding it. You become more flexible, more expressive, more aware of the world around you. You begin to see ideas from multiple perspectives, like viewing a landscape from both the ground and the mountaintop. Let me add a small academic idea here: linguistic relativity, the theory that the structure of a language influences the way its speakers think. When you learn English, you're not just learning words, you're learning a new way to perceive time, action, relationships, emotions. For example, English verbs focus heavily on when something happens: past, present, future, perfect, continuous, simple. Other languages focus more on how or why. So in a way, learning English teaches you to become aware of time in a new dimension. Now let's sprinkle in a bit more humor, because even philosophical monologues need balance. Sometimes English seems to love confusing us. Why is the plural of person not persons but people? Why can we park on a driveway, but drive on a parkway? Why do noses run, while feet smell? Truly, English is the stand-up comedian of languages. But perhaps the most mystical part of learning English is the moment when you think in English without realizing it. The moment your inner voice, your private narrator, switches from your native language to English. That moment is powerful. It's like discovering a secret doorway inside your mind. You step through it and suddenly the world looks slightly different, brighter, wider, deeper. And maybe the greatest lesson of all is this: learning English is not about perfection. It's about connection. It's about expressing yourself with courage, even when your sentence isn't perfect. It's about stepping into conversations, even when your accent feels uncertain. It's about embracing the beautiful chaos of self-improvement. So let me leave you with this. Every time you study, you are lighting a candle. Every time you practice, you are building a bridge. Every time you speak, you are opening a door. And every time you continue, despite difficulty, you are becoming the best version of yourself.